Thank you. I am sorry for the delay, but we are trying to get you as much information as we get it, and it's changing by the second, so. Okay, when you're ready, if you'll give me a thumbs up, please. Got it, 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 and just, are you good? Okay, there we go. Oh, are you good back in the back, and do you need to come on in? Do you need some more space? Okay, good. Okay, so first of all, just want to tell you that God smiled on South Carolina because the sun is out. That is a good sign, but I will tell you that for us, we still have to be cautious. The next 36 to 48 hours are going to be a time that we need to continue to be careful. Just because there is no rain and just because the sun is out, we are now looking at downstreams, waters, and other areas that are going to be affected. I'm going to go through all of that as we go forward. The first thing I want to tell you is what happened yesterday was extremely rare, and it was a very good thing for South Carolina, which is I did a verbal request for a major disaster declaration. We followed that verbal request by talking to the president and asking for that, and they approved it yesterday. What does that mean? There was word out there that certain counties were included in that and not. Let's be clear. This is about addition. This is not about subtraction. So every county has the ability to add on to that list. That's what we want you to know. So there may have been 8 counties listed yesterday. Our job is to make sure we keep adding on to those county lists as we need to. The only thing between us adding that county list on is data. So what we're doing is we're working very closely with your counties to make sure that we can get that information. We have FEMA people up in the air right now doing assessments, trying to see the aerial views. We've got, we will have FEMA people on the ground tomorrow doing assessments, trying to make sure we do that. We are working directly with your county. So know that this is a great story for South Carolina, but it is a story of addition. Not a story of subtraction. So there is not a county, one of the 46 counties, that should think that they have been excluded from anything. This is about the fact that we're going to be working with your county closer to see what you need. My goal is to make sure that anybody and everybody that is in a county has the availability of resources that that FEMA will provide. So we are going to work on making sure that we do that, and we've got a great team, you know, and great communication between FEMA and the state and the county level as we go through that forward. So that that is a good thing. And what that major declaration assistance will cover again is individual assistance, public assistance, which is either debris removal, emergency protective measures, hazard mitigation, and infrastructure. So again, it's about addition, not subtraction. So we'll be adding counties to that list, and we'll be dealing with that. So we want everybody to know, we want everybody to relax in the way that let us do our job, let us continue to do what we need to do to protect you, and go forward from there. Now I just want to give you some data as to where we are. Kingstree is now closed. So it shows that the evacuation yesterday was successful and was a good thing. So we've got it closed now. Like I said, you're going to start to see, I did a flyover early this morning just to kind of see what we could find, and we're starting to see that the Midlands, now all that water is going to start moving down to the low country, and so we are going to be extremely careful. We are watching this minute by minute. There are people on the ground giving us feedback. So if we're not in the air looking at it ourselves, we've got engineers on the ground. The towns that we are really going to be concerned about over the next 36 hours, and we have people on the ground watching, are the towns of Conway, Georgetown, Jamestown, Effingham, Orangeburg, and Williamsburg. Those are the ones that we see in the most critical need right now that we are watching. The counties that we should expect possible evacuations that could happen over the next 48 hours would be Florence, Richland, Marlboro, and Horry. Those lists will change. As the water flows, we will continue to watch that, but that's what we're looking at right now. We have seen that the Midland rivers have peaked, and they're now moving to the coast. Our focus and the rivers that we are focused on at this time are the Edisto River, the Santee River, the Black River, the Waccamaw, and the Lynches. So those we will do. We are seeing some stage of flooding with all of them right now. We have not seen any of them that have crested. And so, like I said, our team is watching those minute by minute to make sure that we are on that. As of now, we have the Department of Transportation is reporting 469 closures. 163 of those are bridges. Our utility outages are back to normal, so people are going to start to feel their power back on and should have their power back on. To date, our troopers, our highway patrol on the roads have had 4,367 service calls. Of that, 1,843 have been traffic collisions. The fatality number has now moved up to 14. I cannot stress enough to the citizens of South Carolina, what we are starting to see is people are starting to move barriers and drive through them, and so other people are driving after them. People are starting to go around barriers. This is not safe. We are doing this to protect you. We are doing this to make sure that you don't travel on a road that we have not fully inspected yet. We want to make sure every bridge and every road that you put your car on is safe for the good of yourself and your family. To have gone up to now 14 fatalities, please help us help you. And so spread that word. Now I know that there's a little bit more traffic on the roads. You will see as this water moves down to the low country that the roads that may be closed today, we will have new roads closed this afternoon. We are going to make sure that there is not an open road. If there is the slightest bit of caution, we are not going to have that open. What we have asked is that you close it when in doubt and you open it when we know that everybody is going to be safe. So please do respect the barriers and respect those closures, because that is a way that we are telling you that it is not safe to drive on that road. At this point, I am very proud of our DNR officers. They have had 175 water rescues to date. That is people. They continue to rescue animals. They continue to do whatever is needed. All of our law enforcement have been phenomenal in the way that they've dealt with that. 26 shelters open right now, 824 occupants. That number is going to go up. As we see that the water is going down again, they're having a conference call at 2 o'clock today to make sure that we look at what other shelters we need to plan on having open so that when we have those evacuations, people have places to go. We do not have any shortages of food or water or blankets at this time. All the shelters are very well staffed and very comfortable and safe for everybody that needs it. We have increased our number of National Guard members. General Livingston has been a great leader on this. We've now got 2,200 on the road. This is a group of men and women who have been extremely flexible, going from wherever they need to be to the next stop and doing whatever needs to be done. So they are working 24/7 to make sure that whatever area we move them to, they are there. We have now moved the number of DOT crew members. As it is getting a little bit safer for them to get out and assess the area, that number is now, instead of 1,000 DOT maintenance workers, we're now up to 1,400 DOT maintenance workers on the road. Their jobs are, there's in addition to that 200 engineers, all checking safety, structure, stability of roads and bridges to make sure they're right. Our crew members are trying to do whatever temporary repairs they need to do to get those roads open again, or what permanent repairs we're going to have to look at to see how long those closures are going to be. We now have 28 assessment teams on the ground in the counties. We're starting from the top of the state where it's now dry and safe. They are going through, they're assessing every one of our 46 counties for damage. They are working with every one of the county emergency divisions and DOT local offices on the ground to do the assessment. So those have started. We have the ability to have up to 50 teams, but as it gets safer for those assessment teams to go in, you will see the number of assessment teams continue to increase. We have 268 highway patrolmen on the ground doing anything and everything to keep people safe. That does not count the additional multiple law enforcement officers from SLED, from DNR, and from probation, pardon, and parole. All of them have come to our needs and done exactly what we wanted and what we wanted to see happen. So, where are we? South Carolina has once again proven that we are strong and we are resilient. We are still in prayer mode. We are still in the fact that the next 36 to 48 hours is going to be volatile. So what we'll tell you is don't let the sunshine fool you, but we are prepared. This team behind me has worked nonstop to make sure that we are doing everything ahead. We have pre-positioned already in the low country everything that we need to have for when that water flows. We are doing analysis constantly throughout the day to make sure that is there. What should the people of South Carolina do? Well, we are hearing from multiples that they want to do something. And so with that, South Carolinians have continued to step up in the way that they always do. They are looking to help their neighbors. You will see shelters in different areas. If there are any donations that need to be given, I will tell you that one organization that has been absolutely phenomenal has been the Red Cross. They continue to be anywhere and everywhere. I know there's businesses, I know there's individuals who have asked where to donate. The Red Cross is a great one to donate, but there are others as well. If you go to the EMD website, it actually says volunteer and donate. So if you want to volunteer your time, if you want to donate goods, there's probably a dozen groups that are working directly with us that would be helpful in assisting, and so we welcome that and we appreciate that. And I can tell you that from out of state, the number of governors that I have talked to, the assistance that has come from Governor McCrory in North Carolina, Governor Haslam from Tennessee, Governor Rick Scott from Florida, we've heard from Governor Christie and former Governor Barber, all of these people wanting to help and give any advice or assistance. They're giving any crews. We really have been very blessed in the way that everybody is asking to help, and we're taking it. We are not at the point where we are going to say no. If anything, we're at the point that we are staying in precautionary mode. I will tell you that this morning I went up and started to see the damages after the water has come down. The water has come down a good 10 or 20 feet from the time that we were in the air, and what I saw was disturbing, and it is hard to look at the loss that we are going to have. But everything will be okay. What we want to remember is there is a process. We are going to make sure we take every single person in every single county through that process. Our goal is to make sure that the resources are available. Our goal is to make sure that the safety is there. And our goal is to make sure that we recover and we come out of this stronger than we started. I have no doubt that South Carolina is stronger today than we were yesterday. I have no doubt that South Carolina will be stronger next week than we are this week. But what I want everyone to remember is this is a time of faith, this is a time of strength, and this is a time of taking care of each other and neighbors taking care of neighbors. And if we do that, we will come out of this better than we have before. I can't say enough thank yous to my team South Carolina behind me who have stood strong and gone without sleep to make sure that everybody is safe. But I will tell you that we're not going to stop until this entire situation is taken care of. And so with that, I will open it up for any questions that you have for me or anyone behind me as we go forward.
Governor, can you give us an assessment, in your best judgment, clearly it's a moving target, what the cost of this reparation is going to be?
So I understand the interest and the urgency to know what the cost and what the number actually is. This is what I will tell you. We're not going to stop until we get everything we need to get back up and running and fixed again. That could be X amount of dollars. That's not my concern right now. My concern is that we're following the processes we need to with FEMA. My concern is that we've got good communications with the counties. My concern is that we've got the best people on the ground to do assessments. My concern is that we have asked for FEMA's legal team to come in to make sure that we are looking at every T crossed and every I dotted for all of those contracts that need to be done. And my appreciation is that the feds and FEMA have been extremely helpful in us moving forward. And so that's what I want people to know. This could be any amount of dollars. Let's get off of the dollars and let's focus on the recovery, because that's what all of this team is focused on.
There's some concern about the dams in the state. There was a report this morning, one had failed. Can you give us your assessment also of what you think of the, what can be done to make sure these don't fail or how they can be held?
So multiple dams have failed, but what I will tell you is we went through a map this morning and we continue to go. We know exactly where we need to be looking at. We know exactly the critical areas that they are, and we also know what needs to be done. The National Guard is ready and on standby, as well as DOT, to kind of go and do that. DHEC has been great at assessing that. I'm going to ask Director Heichel if she wants to add anything to that in terms of giving you more information about the dams.
So at this point, we have had 10 dam failures across the state. We've had 3 in Lexington County. We've had 5 in Richland County, 1 in Lee County, and 1 in Aiken County. We have a number of additional dams that we continue to monitor for structural integrity. We do have engineers on the ground. Obviously, those dam operators are being very vigilant about those particular structures, and we are calling in assistance through local EMD, through the National Guard, for sandbagging and additional mitigation measures where needed.
And what I'll tell you is, again, you know, we went through, there was a certain dam that we were concerned about this morning. It is all hands on deck. I mean, it really is. Everybody is doing whatever it takes, whether it's DOT offering a crane, whether it's General Livingston saying, where do I need to move these people, whether it's DHEC having those people on the ground. I mean, we're putting eyes on these dams. We're not just looking and saying what could happen. We have people on the ground assessing it literally as we go. We know which numbers we're watching and which ones we're watching. We've got vulnerable ones that we'll be watching today through the next 36 hours. But what we can tell you is, if you look at what happened, whether it was yesterday in Richland, whether it was what happened in Kingstree, the reason we're doing evacuations as they are is because we want to provide safety. So when you hear that we are doing an evacuation, it's because we think that something could happen. And we just ask that people continue to listen to that and continue to do what they've done, which is to act and take it seriously.
Governor Haley, I know some of our viewers have been concerned about the lake in Jenkinsville in particular because of the nuclear plants up there. Do you guys have any updates on that?
Yes. Do you want to, who wants to talk about the lake in Jenkinsville?
It's fine.
It's fine? Okay.
Yes.
What about I-95? Any
Yes.
kind of national transport, is that open yet, or when do you
And-
estimate it might be?
And we discussed that this morning. I'm going to let Secretary Hall go ahead and fill you in on 95.
Thank you, Governor. Yes, the interstate commerce is definitely very important for us, as well as just mobility and getting South Carolinians back to work. We're out on the ground assessing I-95 currently. We have our top engineers out there inspecting the bridges. We're going to look to see if we can do partial opening of I-95 in order to restore better mobility in the area. There are 5 to 8 bridges along I-95, so even though the pavements may be dry, we definitely need to assess those 5 to 8 bridges and make sure that they're safe. Again, safety is our top priority. So if there's any doubt, we're going to keep those areas of concern closed, but we're very keen on getting mobility restored in the state.
But that detour route is, you're looking at 168 miles of the detour, which it would normally be 70.
Yes, it's 74 miles of interstate that are closed currently.
And so people who are traveling need to plan for that much time going forward. I think General Livingston's also going to add some information on Beaver Creek.
Yes, ma'am. Wanted to mention the 2 dams, or 2 areas we're working in Columbia for the people of Columbia. The Beaver Dam that's up above Forest Lake, we're doing reinforcing operations there as we speak. And also we're looking at repair operations on the Columbia Canal in order to reinforce the water restoration in Columbia.
Thank you, General.
So Governor Haley, really quickly, I know there's a FEMA representative here as well, which, you can answer first and then maybe if he has stuff to
course.
add. But for residents who are sitting at home, whether, they had flood damage, they lost a car, whatnot, what does FEMA being here mean to them specifically? I know you mentioned a couple things like debris removal, but like going in deep, if I'm sitting at home and I'm watching this at home, what does it mean to residents? What help will they receive?
Okay, so the focus that we have right now as a state, and then I'm going to turn it over to FEMA. The focus for us is that we are going into every county and we're assessing the damage, and we are seeing various levels of damage, but we're seeing a lot of damage. So our job is to make sure that we work closely with FEMA and get those damages assessed properly, give them the data, give them what they need to continue to add to that list. And that's what we're doing now, is collecting the data. What FEMA's doing is they're in the air now looking at the aerial view, and then they'll start tomorrow on the ground going accordingly. we are with the major disaster declaration that we've had for those counties that have already gotten certified, and then the new counties that are going to come on. It is individual assistance. It is going to be debris removal and emergency protective measures. It is going to be infrastructure. But to give you additional details or answer additional questions, I'll have Mike from FEMA come stand with us.
Yes, thank you, Governor. What FEMA can do for the individuals who've been affected are a number of things. And what I would like to impress, first of all, and perhaps most important piece, is if you have been affected by this flood, I want to encourage anyone in the state to contact FEMA on 1-800-621-3362. That's 1-800-621-FEMA. Or you can go to disasterassistance.gov. And what we'll ask you to do on both that website and that phone number is you'll register for assistance. Let us tell you that you may not be eligible. In other words, if you have damages, if you have damages, I encourage you to call that number or register online. And I'll also add the hearing impaired number is 800-462-7585. So what can we provide? A number of things. We can provide housing assistance, that's housing repair, replacement. We also have other needs assistance that we can provide, such as disaster unemployment assistance, legal services, crisis counseling. I'd also add that the Small Business Administration would be available to provide low-interest loans for households, also in town to assist businesses and businesses. So that's what we can do for you.
One question for you. What are the counties, again, already qualifying for FEMA assistance here in South Carolina?
The counties that have been designated so far are Charleston, Dorchester, Georgetown, Horry, Lexington, Orangeburg, Richland, and Williamsburg. Those are for individual assistance. For public assistance, and that covers things under public infrastructure such as roads and bridges and the kinds of things that we've been talking about for municipality assistance. Those counties that were designated so far are Berkeley, Charleston, Clarendon, Dorchester, Georgetown, Horry, Lexington, Orangeburg, Richland, Sumter, and Williamsburg.
Can you tell us,
And
is
what
there a split of the federal state money that has to go towards that? Does South Carolina pay for part of this, or how does that work?
Yes,
or is
ma'am.
it an entire federal assistance package?
There are, generally speaking, the majority of the assistance that we will provide is based on a 75-25 split, and a 75% federal share. There are a couple of programs that they're 100% federal, but by and large it's 75%.
And the individuals are those 100?
In some cases, yes, ma'am.
So what I want to stress again is those counties are the ones that have gotten it already. More counties will qualify as we do that. But what we've seen is it is a 75-25 split for some. It is 100% for others. So some individuals will qualify for 100. Some will. You'll be actually dealing with an individual assessor from FEMA. Is that right? If it's individual assessment.
Yes, ma'am. It just depends on what part of
Right.
individual assistance is provided.
And so I think what you'll see is on the a great resource is the EMD website, which is
www.scemd.org.
scemd.org. If you go to that, you will literally have a wealth of information, including the 800 number that Mike just gave you in terms of how to contact FEMA, as well as going ahead and getting registered. So if you do have any sort of damage to your home or to your property or to anything, go ahead and call that 800 number, but you will also see a lot of other EMD information for your county as well as for the state.
Is the state planning on offering any additional assistance included with FEMA or after FEMA?
It's just everything right now is just too early. We don't even know what we're dealing with yet, so our goal right now is just assessment. And understand the assessment's going to take several days, so we've really got to go and hunker down. There's some counties we can't even get into yet. We can't get into Kingstree, so we don't know what we're looking at, but we'll keep working until we get it done.
Governor Haley, do you think your team didn't focus enough on dams yesterday? I don't remember them being brought up in yesterday's briefing, but today it seems like that's the focus.
We were focused on dams last week. The thing was, you have to take it in phases, one stage at a time. So we have always been, first it was pre-positioning. How do we pre-position? How do we make sure that we have everything in effect? The rain had to stop first, right? So a lot of it was waiting on the rain. We knew already which dams we had to look at. We knew which areas we had to watch for cresting, and then we also knew that we were going to have some breaches that we had to watch. So a lot of it was just waiting for the rain to stop. After we could get the rain to stop and it was safe enough to get in there, you've seen the number that they've restored, the number that they were able to hold has been very good. And the ones we continue to watch as the water levels go down, that's really what you're looking at. Is it going from the Midlands all the way down? We actually were looking at more that were not affected, especially from the upstate. We didn't get all that we thought we were going to get in the upstate. So I think that we've watched it very carefully, and I think that's why you've seen the evacuations have happened the way they were and happened effectively. So
Are dams more of a priority versus rivers flooding downstream, or is
I think it's both. I mean, right now we're looking at levels of water and at what point they see the cresting. You know, we were looking at Lake Murray Dam, and we, you know, at one point had 3 gates open trying to release that water. Today we're glad to say they've closed down that last gate. So, you know, it's just a process. And so what we do is it's all about keeping your eyes on all of them and being flexible enough to move as they move and make sure that we continue to keep people safe.
so the dam break-in was somewhat predicted in a sense yesterday?
I mean, with up to 24 inches of rain, it's almost, I mean, there's just no way. This was rainfall at an unbelievable level. And to see the historic nature of it was pretty amazing. Did you want to add something, General?
I would just say the evacuations that we've discussed throughout the days has to do with dams and rivers. So we may have not been saying specifically dams, but all those evacuations occurred before these dams breached. So we've been watching this since really before the event started.
General, can you tell us, did you do any rescues today or yesterday?
Actually, we got a great news story. We flew search and rescue yesterday, and we had no pickups at that time. We had a lot the day before, but yesterday, so what that's saying is that we're getting, the people are helping us out a little bit, and they're listening to the evacuations orders. The picks that we've had before is somebody that individually got themselves in trouble or didn't pick up on the evacuations orders, because the evacuations have been in front of the dangerous waters, whether it be a dam or whether it be a river or just a regular rain runoff.
I think we're starting to see the responsibility of citizens. They're listening, and for that we're very grateful.
Do you have a sense that the death toll might go up, though, as the water comes down? Perhaps more discoveries might be made.
So, you know, our number one goal is educate, educate, educate. If we tell you don't drive through a barrier, don't do it. If we tell you to evacuate, it's because we're trying to keep you safe. I mean, so much of everything we say, we are saying because the number one priority of this team is safety and life protection. And so our goal is to make sure there's no more. But, you know, that's a two-sided thing. We have to have that help from the citizens as much as we have from this team to inform the constituencies about that.
Hindsight's 20/20, and obviously we're not through it yet, but the damage that you've seen so far, is it worse than what you were expecting?
I mean, any of it's worse than I'm expecting. You know, that's the hard part, is when you see these are real families, these are real people, these are real houses. I come from a small business background. I mean, to lose a small business, and these are people who, let's face it, they didn't know they needed flood insurance. They didn't know that something like this could happen. When you've got a 1,000-year flood, how could anybody? What I will tell you is this: we won't stop until we make sure that we have given every ounce of information that we can. The fact that we got that verbal major declaration yesterday was a godsend, and it was something that we asked quickly. FEMA responded and the feds responded quickly. Now we've got the assessment teams out there. Everything is moving as it should, and I hope that gives people strength to know that we've got you. This is going to hurt a little bit. We've got you. But if you keep doing what we need you to do, we can keep working together to get us through this, and we will get through this. The damage is going to be heartbreaking for a lot of people, but it's not something that we can't go and rebuild and refix and redo, and that's the part that we have to focus on.
Have there been any estimates as to how long it will take to repair the roads that have been completely washed away?
So DOT has not had the opportunity to really see all those roads yet. I think the good thing is we've had assessment teams on the ground since 2 days ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we're going to continue to assess those as we need to. And, you know, again, if we just need people to let everybody do our jobs, let us go in there and assess the way we need to, and we will respond with every ounce of information we have. But South Carolina is strong. We are going to continue to push through this. We're going to continue to try and educate and communicate all the information you need. The second we get it, we will make sure that you have it, but we want everybody to keep safe. So one last question.
Governor Haley, was
Yes.
were sandbags put in place at those 10 dams that already breached as of now?
The
Were
ones
they
that
put-
already breached?
Right, were there sandbags that were put in place at those dams?
On the ones that had breached, we had sandbags in place, but it was not enough to stop the dam breach. You know, we made some initial efforts, but some of them were just too far gone in the initial washover. But the ones that we can reinforce, we have reinforced, or we're continuing to reinforce, and those are the ones that are holding right now.
Okay, and I did want to ask, what is the protocol in terms of reporting whether a dam has breached or not? I know yesterday and early this morning there were different conflicting reports whether a dam had breached or it hadn't. I know in Richland County that Windsor Lake Dam, Richland County said that that dam had breached and people needed to evacuate, and then there was another release that they sent out that said that it hadn't breached at all. So what's that protocol?
DHEC is actually the people who certify the dams. They get eyes on some of these dam breaches. It was kind of rumored because we were doing control releases. They were opening gates and allowing the water to run around, or actually cutting diversions. So DHEC is the one that would do that. And
Yeah, if I can just add on, that the rumors are a bit of a problem, and so we do need folks to turn to the agencies, DHEC and EMD, and the EMD website for that information, because we want people to understand where there are evacuation zones and who is impacted. We don't want panic. We want people to understand what that information is. So please refer to EMD and DHEC.
You know, some people don't even have electricity. I mean, some people, how are they gonna find those things out when they're in that evacuation zone?
They're doing reverse 911s. They're knocking on doors. I mean, they're out there making sure that people know what's going to happen, sirens and other things.
What I was going to say is we are out, all partners at the county, city, DHEC, National Guard, law enforcement. They're knocking on individual doors and telling people when to evacuate. And that doesn't mean the dam is broken. That means that there is a threat.
We're getting in front
And the
of it,
dam
right.
may or may not break. But just because we evacuate you is because we want to get 24 hours ahead of it so you have time to leave, and we're not having to pick you off with a helicopter or something like that.
Well, our team has worked hard to make sure we're in front of all of this, so we actually plan 48 hours ahead and have through this entire process. We're going to continue to do that. We want to thank the media for continuing to get the good news out in terms of information and phone numbers and what people need to do, and we will continue to keep you informed as we go forward. Thank you, and we've all got to get back to work. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Well done.